Medical Science in New Delhi, and now he is an emeritus professor there. His team worked on many medically relevant proteins because they are in the hospital side. So many protein targets they are used, and this is the only group in India which has deposited maximum number of protein structures in the protein data bank. So many structures have appeared in the cover page of our important scientific journals. Now, what is the characteristic of a good medicine? Solubility matters, metabolic toxicity matters, and your half-life matters, and oral bioavailability, and also the activity. So in 1997, Lipinski, a scientist, analyzed the existing drug molecules, and he has come out with some rules which contain the number 5. That's why it's known as Lipinski's rule of 5. Now, it says that there should not be more than 5 hydrogen bond donors. So already we have seen that a small molecule is bound at the active site of the macromolecule to modulate the function. How the binding happens? This is through hydrogen bond. As I already told you, there is a donor which is attached to a hydrogen, and that hydrogen is shared by an acceptor atom. These donors and acceptors may be either from the atoms of the amino acids of the active site or the ligand atoms, and vice versa. So, regarding the hydrogen bond donors, he says not more than 5 hydrogen bond donors should be there, and molecular weight should not be more than 500 Dalton. If you look at the atomic weight of carbon, it is 12. So, roughly we divide it, 40 atoms already, equal atoms. If you just look at any drug molecule you take orally, any anacin, aspirin or something, the number of atoms will not be exceeding 40. And the logarithm of the partition coefficient should not be greater than 5, and there should not be more than 10 hydrogen bond acceptors. Now, what is a drug target? It should be a well-defined binding packet, right? The target should have a well-defined binding packet where a small molecule can attach and modulate the function. This binding packet should be unique for that, and this should be able to be inhibited by the small molecule, and this should be essential to carry out a function, and so on. Now, how to identify drug binding packet? This packet with potential hydrogen bond donors and acceptors, hydrophobic interaction, and sizes of molecular surfaces should be there. That is the drug binding packet. It can be an active site of an enzyme. It can be an assembly site with another macromolecule, and it can be a communication site necessary in the mechanism of the molecule. There may be more than one site of binding also, which you will see later. Now, how many drug targets are there? 100 to thousands. No, they belong to all categories like enzymes, receptors, ion channels, monoclonal antibodies. So many things are there. Now, coming to drug discovery, there are two types. One is known as combinatorial chemistry. They keep on synthesizing varieties of compound and checking. Other is some systematic approach called rational structure-based drug design. In the combinatorial chemistry, there are some hurdles because it involves a higher cost, trial and error procedure, time scale is too much. But even then, even though you start with the synthesis and screening of 10,000 compounds, only 10 compounds can go on trials, and maybe one can be prescribed as drug. Even then, that can fetch you billions of dollars per year. Now, drug design, is it a single subject? Not at all, because we have a combination of molecular biologists, crystallographers, physical chemists, right? And so many people are there. So first of all, it deals with the theory of drug design, then designing tools are important. You can propose a ligand, you can synthesize, then look at the activity, then do the testing. Successful candidate may come out of the drug. Then what you do, you co-crystallize that drug molecule along with protein, determine the structure, and so on. This is not a single step procedure. Now, look at this. This is common that 2004 time issue, first page. So far, people never thought that inflammation has a role with Alzheimer or cancer and heart attack. But it has been found that there's a surprising link between inflammation and heart attacks, cancer, and Alzheimer, and also other diseases. Now, for an example, I'm taking only the design of anti-inflammatory drug for which the macromolecule target is phospholipase A2. We have, every one of us have in A2. The structure is 99% similar to human PLA2. We can take that PLA2 from snake as a target. Now, so this inflammation is due to the phospholipase or cyclooxygenases or lipoxygenases, COX and COX. So whenever you want to do a drug design, first of all, you must understand what is the target against which you want to do the drug design. And also, you must understand the mechanism of action. Look at this phospholipase A2. This phospholipase A2 binds with the lipid molecules and produces arachidonic acid. Then we have the production of LOX and COX enzymes. This LOX again produces monohydroxy fatty acids. Cyclohexane produces thromboxane, from which we get prostaglandins. From this side we get leukotrienes. Finally, we get the biochemical substances known as eicosanoids. As long as the production of eicosanoids is okay, normal, there is no problem. It's a healthy person. Now, due to some reasons, if excess eicosanoids are produced, that causes inflammation and it leads to arthritis and so on complicated diseases. Then how to control the excess production? You can design inhibitors for this, okay? If we do inhibitor for this is produced in excess. If we do inhibitors for this is produced in excess. Like a pipeline, no? Best thing will be to do inhibitors for the head alone. The top itself, we got to design inhibitors. That's what we are going to see. Now, what are the effects of eicosanoids? Good and bad effects are there. Inflammatory response, induction of blood clotting, regulation of sleep-wake cycle, then production of fever and pain, regulation of blood pressure, and control of induction of labor. It is dictated by the eicosanoids, these are the effects of the eicosanoids. When they analyze the synovial fluid from the inflamed joints of arthritic patients and also in the blood of acute pancreatitis patients, adult respiratory distress syndrome patients, and bacterial peritonitis patients, and shock patients, they found the presence of phospholipase A2 as a band. This is about 12 kilodalton protein, which means that excess PLT is only causing these problems. Now, so this is the phospholipase A2 extracted from the synovial fluid of the inflamed joint, for which crystal structure has been done. Whatever I'm going to see in the projection, nothing is in silico, nothing is done with the computer. Everything is actual crystal structure determination. Native protein or native protein plus drug complex, everything crystallographic structure only I'm talking. No homology, nothing. Now, this is called a wire model, no? Just like a wire structure is given, you can see the helices and everything. If you look here, phospholipase A2, the residues which have to be tackled here are histidine 48 and aspartic acid 49. Because in reality, this histidine 48 grabs a water molecule in the protein and the production of arachidonic acid starts, that mechanism. So, if we engage this histidine 48, you can completely arrest the production of these substances and finally eicosanoids. So, that's our aim. But how can the drug enter? There's only one pathway, you know. So gap is there. So it has to come this way. Suppose you design some molecule which stop with this, no, purpose is not solved. Up to this, no. Up to this, no. It has to come up to this. This is known as designing. So for designing, first of all, you must know the three-dimensional structure of the target macromolecule. There comes crystallography. Okay. Now, let us see. Again, in depth I'm showing. Extra thing is there's a water molecule. This is known as conserved water molecule. Means these are important for the function. So they are involved in the binding with the ligand molecule. They're known as conserved waters. Now, so when people are searching just the phospholipase A2 inhibitors, so typically thought, what types of inhibitors are there? He says natural inhibitors are there, substrate analog is there, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs are there, then design inhibitors are there. So each one of them, he did the structure. He did the co-crystallization of the PLA2 with vitamin E, with erythrolasic acid, with atropine, and so on. Then made the crystal, then passed the X-rays, collected the data, then as in the presentation too, he solved the structure. Then only we are seeing this picture. Right? Again and again telling no homology, nothing. Actually experimental thing. So this is how vitamin E, what is the good thing? Vitamin E is completely occupying the hydrophobic channel, no? All residues are having interactions, no? Mainly it has approached these 48 and 49, no? Which are very much essential. Of course, tryptophan 31 also. So like that, I'm going to show you the binding of this drug molecule with amino acid residues that is shown as yellow in the right hand side. You have a look at it. This is the binding is shown. Actual binding is shown in the dotted hydrogen bond. Clear? Now one by one, I see this just tells you what is the journal in which this has appeared. Vitamin E. Then aristolochic acid. This is the first natural product which has been used as an anti-inflammatory compound. It has been found from biochemistry lab of Mysore University, Professor Gowda. So again, you see 48, 49 binding is there. Then again 48, 49 for atropine. So interaction had that the dotted lines are hydrogen bonds. Then anisic acid, agimalin. Okay. Okay. Now we must talk about the to inhibit the protein activity to 50%. That is known as IC50. Inhibitory concentration, IC, to reduce the activity by 50%. Lower the IC50 value, better. That's what, for example, take some tablets are given which cure fever, no? All of them contain paracetamol. But you say 250 mg is that is the best dose. So even the smallest dose you should be able to cure. So that is not IC50, no? If you look at whatever 4 molecules, complexes you have seen, and this molar concentration, no? What is the inhibitory concentration of this IC50? You look at that, which is the lowest here, atropine. So among 4 given a choice, you have to choose only atropine as the best inhibitor. So it has now gone to micromolar, okay, 10 power minus 6. Another thing you have to look, what are the residues interacting? These are already marketed drugs. Suppose you want to design some more potential drug, it has to interact with this residue. That is why literature survey is essential to thoroughly study existing drug molecule for the target and look at the activity, where they bind and so on. Then you design a molecule which will bind at the same site. Now, this is a naturally occurring substrate analog called tridecanic acid. This is how it binds, no? With aspartic acid. And 49, not directly. This is through a water, OW. This is known as water-mediated interaction. Clear? Through water, it is interacting with these residues, no? So that is why it is known as controlled water, necessary for the function or activity of the molecule. So this is how the tridecanic acid is found. Then he took the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like aspirin, niflumic acid, oxyphenbutazone, indomethacin, diclofenac, no? Then he studied one by one complex, no? He solved the structures and found where they bind, right? Again, 48, 49 is there, right? Right hand side you can see the pictures, 48, 49, 48. Now, if you remember whatever we have seen last time, we have seen the lowest value 10 power minus 6 molar. Now, in the case of NSAIDs, we have gone still lower than that because 10 power minus 7 molar we got from 10 power minus. Okay, this behaves as a better compounds. Look at the interaction also, 48, 49 is always maintained. That is one thing you must note. Then, based on that, he found that how many sites are possible, recognition site in phospholipids here too. He found 6 sites, no? And where do they occur? So this I am going to show in the next projection. Here, all these white regions denote the sites, okay? So this is a path for the drug to enter, no? It's clear here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? Your binding package, actual residues to be tackled come under the site 4 and 6. Suppose your drug stops with one site, no meaning. Here also, no meaning, no? I will show one by one how it is interacting. Look at the vitamin E. So this is structure solved. Yellow means the sites close by. So only these sites are these amino acids in these sites have interaction with this site, drug molecule. The amino acids in site 3 and 6 are far away. Far away means the interaction will be greater than 3.4 angstrom. It has to lie between donor accepted distances, has to lie in the hydrogen bond between 2.3 to 3.4 angstrom. No. So 3 and 6 are far away. Now let us go to tridecanic acid. Now sites are different. Now 3 and 5 are far away. 1, 2, 4, 6 are interacting. Then we took indomethacin, no? Now completely away, 1, 2, 3. You can just see, because drug is here. These are sites is far away, So 4, 5, 6 are nearby. They found actual structures. Then he thought, what will happen if you take some peptide? This is called design, Instead of natural inhibitors, he designed a single letter code for these 20 amino acids, like lysine, alanine, isoleucine, right, tyrosine, and so on. Now, there is your triangles you have seen. This triangles means dehydroisoleucine, dehydrovalinone. So what do you mean by that? Yesterday I told you how a peptide backbone goes to N, C alpha, alpha carbon, C double bond or C prime, and so on. So now we have an extra presence of CH2 group. So that is known as dehydro. So the effect of this is to have the constraints in the conformation. So now let us see. If you look at the pentapeptide, again co-crystalline with PLA. As you know the structure of the 3D structure of the phospholipase here too. Then I will show you what are the cover page. It has come in the biological crystallography, right? See here, how many sites does it have interaction with tetrapeptide? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of 6 sites, all the 5 sites is a very good inhibitor binding. Then other pentapeptide, right? Tetrapeptide. Now look at the beauty. When they have the synthesized designed inhibitors, previously first production we saw 10 per minus 6 molar or micromolar, then minus 10 per minus 7 micromolar. Now we have gone up to 10 power minus 9. So now we have gone to nano micromolar, nanomolar, right? Which means that whatever you guys in first, second gone, now this is most effective, this pentapeptides, they are very good. 10 power minus 9. Of course, this pentapeptide also. The commonality is that all these design inhibitors have the interaction with 48, 49. I am now 100% sure that any anti-inflammatory drug has to bind with phospholipase A2 with amino acids 48 and 49. So if you want to propose a new molecule, check as anti-inflammatory drug, check whether they bind with 48 or 49. Clear? Now, he classified these binders into 2 categories. Inhibitors of group 1. So we look at group 1, all of these bind with the target in our right hand side, right? Now, there is inhibitors of group 2. You just see here, they bind at the left hand side. Clear? Previous one you can see at the right hand side green mark. Here we see at the left hand side. Now what do you think? What will happen? Now since the sides are different, left hand side, right hand side, can't 2 inhibitors bind simultaneously? So that thought came to the TP6 group. Then what they did is, for every one of these 3, they made combinations of these compounds, So 2 at a time. It's again not individual. They did the actual structure, Here you see the potent combination with ajumelin. So yellow is ajumelin. Ajumelin is common. That green is different. Aristologic acid, vitamin E, diclofenac, and like that the structure, crystal structure they did for about 18 compounds. They listed the IC50 values. Now they see it has gone up to 10 power minus 13 molar. This is called real structure-based drug design. They have patented. They have 2 patents out of this research. Clear? So now this is known as actual structure-based drug design. So now we go to the second part, the theory of protein ligand interactions, and third part I will cover about that COVID and also whatever we have done in the health scripts. Now we are going to see protein ligand interactions in molecular modeling and structure-based drug design. If you look at this picture, this tells you what do you mean by docking, right? So 2 objects are there, they are binding with each other. After binding, they should be comfortable, both the parties, So docking attempts to find the best matching between the 2 molecules. Given the 2 biological molecules, determine first of all whether the 2 molecules interact. That is through hydrogen bond. You check whether there is any hydrogen bond or so. If so, what is the orientation that maximizes the interaction? This is called score. While minimizing the total energy of the complex, this is one of the binding energy. So whenever you do the docking, finally you must analyze 2 points. One is score and another is energy. Both the values should be the largest number in the negative. Okay, because more negative energy means less positive. So less positive is stable. Every system wants to attain the minimum energy conformation only. Now, the strength of association or binding affinity between two molecules is dictated by the scoring function. So already we have seen what is Lipinski's rule of 5 in drug design. Is the first filter. Suppose you have 10,000 molecules to work on and you want to find which is the best molecule, no? First you apply Lipinski's rule. Then you do some experiments regarding absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion, and toxicity, no? Then that also we can rule out something, no? Because toxicity is very much important, no? If it is toxic, there is no meaning in taking more. Most of drug molecules, no, so there are some molecules which have been banned after the use of about 15 years, no? Later on they kept, they produces toxicity or cardiovascular problems, no? So this is the other filter we can use. Now what is high throughput virtual screening? We have lakhs of components, millions of components. Look at the databases like Zinc database, Acidus database. They have millions of compounds, no? You can just order whatever compound is coming favorable to you and you can get it because you need not be synthesize anything. They pay money, get the compound, do the further work. This is for fast docking, high throughput virtual screening. Then while docking, there's something known as rigid docking and induced fit docking. In every docking, the ligand is kept flexible. Just we can rotate it about all the bonds and so on. But if you look at the protein, if you want to rotate about every bond, because protein consists of, let us say, 100 amino acids mean 800 atoms. No? If so many bonds are there. So that takes years together to do the calculation. No? Therefore, initially, for high throughput screening, they keep the protein site as a rigid. Okay? Then they give fluctuations only to the receptor. It's like opening a lock with a key and keep the lock fixed and shake the key. Right? So once you have some set of components, say from hundreds or thousands, you filter out to a few 10, 20 or 30. Now you go to the reality. Actually, when a molecule binds to the active site of a target, the amino acids are the active site and the drug molecule, when they bind to hydrogen bond, there will be conformational changes, either in the main chain or the backbone. So if so, practically, how can you keep the receptor site rigid? So that is why, in reality, this first thing is rigid docking is not allowed, but that is the only way to save time. First of all, you do that. Then next you do something known as induced fit docking. Here I consider flexibility for both the active site and receptor site and also the ligand. When you say active site, don't consider the entire protein, but from the center of the active site, construct a sphere of radius 20 angstrom. Within those amino acids, I consider them as flexible, because longer the distance, interaction will be very less. Then, as I told you in the beginning, two parameters are there to judge the best compound. One is score, which deals with the affinity of the molecule. Next is energy, which deals with stability. Both of them should have higher or larger negative number. Now, this is basically theory only, we have to understand. Radical new opportunities for drug discovery are due to the revolution in biology over the past 4 decades, and major drug targets in the form of molecular components of disease processes have been developed for use in automated assays. After screening natural compounds, chemical data banks or combinatorial libraries to identify the lead compounds, the target macromolecules are used as a starting point for structure-based approaches. Don't confuse structure-based approaches where you know the three-dimensional structure of the target macromolecule. That's all. Ligand-based means we don't know the target structure, but ligand you know. Based on the ligand structure, you design. Some of you come out with potentially related molecules. Then there are softwares are also there. So we can feed the structure to the PubChem, it will give you property. There is a bioinformatics server, Russian server called PAS, prediction of activity. Once you give the structure, it will give what are all the macromolecular proteins where this compound can bind, along with the probability of binding. You take only those where the probability is greater than 95% or so and play the game in ligand base. To study the complex biological chemical systems, pharmaceutical research incorporates molecular modeling methods and variety of drug discovery programs. For identification and development of novel promising compounds, The combination of computational and experimental strategies is of great value. It is important. In the field of modern drug design, molecular docking methods explore the various ligand conformation, because when you the ligand, no, we just rotate, no, each about each bond or something, that no poses or conformation. For every pose we have a score and energy. You take the best pose having the largest negative value, right? Since various docking algorithms are available, an understanding of the advantages and limitations of each method is of great importance. The characterization of protein ligand binding sites is essential for investigating new functional roles related to major biological research areas like health, food, and energy. As the laboratory techniques for drug discovery are very much time consuming and expensive, computational methods have been developed to assist drug discovery and development, and a number of automated methods have emerged to identify the promising drug candidate. In living organisms, the basis of all processes is molecular recognition. Here, either the macromolecules interact with each other, that's called protein-protein docking, or with the small molecule. This is what I am showing now. Understanding the biology at the molecular level requires the protein ligand or PL interaction, as these play a major role in cellular metabolism. Docking of protein with small molecules include enzyme ligand binding, protein saccharide binding, protein inhibitor binding, and protein peptide interactions also. The binding of small molecules, which are called ligands, with the protein, these ligands comprise a very large and structurally diverse group of molecules. The interaction during the binding play a wide variety of physicochemical characteristics. For a full understanding of the protein-ligand interaction, the biophysical properties of both the protein and ligand should be examined independently and fully understood. Particularly, the active site of the binding packet along with the neighboring amino acid should be thoroughly studied. This is possible only with the three-dimensional structure. Biochemists can use a mutation experiment and see the effect of each residue upon the function. As far as the ligand is concerned, the Lipinski's rule of 5 and admit properties should be obeyed. And we also talk about a parameter known as binding constant Ka, which is related to the dissociation constant Kd, and this should be as small as possible, no? Because even a smaller level it is able to bind. In the study of protein ligand interaction, the ultimate goal is to understand the minute molecular details of the function, what are function, molecular recognition, structure, kinetic, energetic, and dynamics of the system. The analysis of the protein ligand and the PL complex involves the experimental variables such as protein ligand concentration, analogs, homologs of the ligand, protein structural variants, environmental solution condition variables such as temperature, pH, buffer, solvent, because it depends on this also. I told you protein crystallization depends on these parameters. But the screening of lakhs of compounds on the databases using above experimental variables is a never-ending process, or it is very difficult and very much time-consuming. That is why using computational methods. In silico methods are usually employed in studying the interactions and in choosing the best ligand. Here, many commercial and free computer programs are available for use. Studying the protein ligand interaction is the main part in structure-based drug design. We abbreviate the SBDD approach. Some of these programs are AutoDock free. So we have AutoVina. This is molecular operation environment. This is money. You got to pay. Gold, you got to pay money. Then again, these are free. Dock and FluxX. Glide is surely from Schrodinger. You got to pay money. So you have both free softwares and these are sophisticated for use, and also commercial softwares. In silico method for docking a protein ligand mostly use high throughput mature screen, because we have to screen from lakhs of compound, no, for the effective selection of the best ligand among many others in the fastest way. Here, most of the programs assume the receptor to be rigid. As I told you, all the docking programs use the crystallographic structures of the protein or complexes with the ligand deposited in the protein diagram. Here is crystallography. That is why it's a noble subject. So we have more than 160,000 of the structures. Now, let us see about the drug discovery in the past and present. Endogenous ligands were identified in the past long before the biomolecular receptors were isolated and before the chemical structures were established. Using the physiological relevance of these ligands, hypotheses were developed. From the bile acids, steroid hormones were extracted, and during 1920 and 30s itself, several Nobel Prizes were awarded for the discoveries of steroid. So look at Dorothy Hartstein. She worked on hundreds of steroid compounds and hormones, and also vitamin B12, insulin, and penicillin structure. Right? So she got a notable work in this direction, Nobel Prize winner. In 1930s, using single crystal X-ray diffraction technique, the three-dimensional arrangement of the spheroid scaffold and the exact position and stereochemistry of substances were known. Because there are I think 3 volumes are there. The atlas of spheroids to describe the structures. This allowed relating the positions of different chemical groups to specific biological activity. That's why I'm telling you, even for small molecule, the functional groups are important. There comes a role of confirmation, right? So this is in turn helped the development of new medicines. Even though X-ray structures are many co-crystallized, means don't confuse protein along with the ligand molecule and the active site. Okay, so these are all again deposited in the PDB only. So even though these co-crystallized ligand receptors were later available, the effective rational drug design is hindered by the thermodynamics of the ligand receptor association, which cannot be inferred from the calculation of close contact interaction. And also one thing you must remember, so your drug design in silico is not a magic. First thing is, practically what they do, suppose that I say you want to design you want to come out with a new anti-diabetic compound, no? Okay, then look at the history, what are the targets, no? Aldose reductase is one of the target. You have to, you want to design the anti-diabetic thing. So now you take a mice. I will experiment. I'm telling you. You take a mice, and there are some medicines. When you inject, it produces diabetes or inflammation and so on. You induce diabetes first. Then you try with normal rats also. Now you give a drug, right, for a few days, and then do the sacrifice the animals and do. So every time when you do it, you have sacrifice animals. No. So this computational technique, first of all, it overcomes the sacrificing of animals. That's the important thing you must remember. Another drawback is that when you do this in silico, you are thinking as if the protein is isolated, as if it's an isolated system. But in reality, in our body, is not, every protein is not isolated. It is surrounded by so many proteins. No. But only thing is, in terms of the structure and in terms of the ligand, we are able to explain the function of the macromolecule and how to modulate the function. That is why crystallography is still having its value. The present day drug discovery is concerned with biological targets, genetic studies, transgenic animal models, and technology. Because now if you look at, there are animal rats, no, which can be mimicking your humans. As far as the effective drug is concerned, there is Alzheimer mice, right? Then Parkinson's mice. So if you want to develop any drug molecule against Alzheimer disease or Parkinson's, straight away you can play with the animal. No, it is equivalent to a human being affected with Alzheimer or Parkinson's. This is what I mean by transgenic animal model. And technology related to molecular biology, gene technology, protein science. The knowledge of the three-dimensional structure of a targeted macromolecule is of great importance in drug design, particularly SBDD. The binding affinity of novel molecules with the pharmacological activity can be estimated using computational technique related to graphics, docking, quantum mechanical calculation, molecular simulation, and ab initio method. What are molecular simulations? As I told in the second presentation, your protein, more than 50% are occupied by solid molecules. And there are other proteins like GPCRs, no, G protein coupled receptors, which have the lipid molecule inside. So we consider separately the protein as isolated. In reality, these have this problem, no? So now we can do simulation. After docking is over, then you do some simulation. You include media. Then you increase the temperature, no, annealing, like annealing, no, and see whether after 50 nanoseconds the binding is stable. To check whether the hydrogen bond formed initially will not be broken after 50 nanoseconds, and so on. And finally, I will show you those graphs also. So it's better whenever you do theoretical thing for your experiment also fine. When you do this docking experiments and also crystal structure determined, then molecular diagram simulation is comfortable. So do it so that you can come out with a concrete conclusions. Of course, Ramcharan plot also you have to use it. The leads supplied by high throughput screening are often difficult to be transformed into drugs, as the optimization of binding affinity in isolation by traditional medicinal chemistry methods often leads to poor admitted properties due to many reasons. Due to this reason, many researchers have shifted towards structure-based drug design and virtual ligand screening. The success of structure-based drug design, the discovery of new drug leads, is due to the exploded information of genomic, proteomic, and structural information of thousands of macromolecular targets. SBDD has revealed specific micromolar inhibitors against the HIV-1 RNA target TAR, the interleukin receptor interaction, the VEGF or VEGF receptor, and also the breast cancer related target. So we already have some drug molecule designed for these targets. Some examples only. Many X-ray sectors are pharmaceutical targets. Another drawback from the companies, no? Many X-ray sectors are pharmaceutical targets co-crystallized with the inhibitors which have been resolved by the pharma industry remain secret because the business, no, they're investing crores of rupees, $1 million, no, they cannot publish it and let others to proceed with the work, no. These works are still unpublished. The missing link that undetermines the SBDD is a lack of reliability. The reason for some failures after lead optimization is SBDD is that the program is done in a hurried way within 12 to 18 months and many properties are not optimized together. For example, if you see the recent scenario for COVID-19, even within the US, no, there are 24 companies fighting with each other, no, not fighting, competing with each other to come out with the potential drug, no. So if usually for drug discovery, starting with the scratch, you synthesize the compound, and finally when you're getting approved by Federal Drug Administration, FDA, it takes nearly 12 to 15 years. So when a person says within 1 year I got the drug means okay, he's happy. But the person who are taking the drug should be happy. No, they have to live further, no, after taking the drug. So that is the complication. People say that within 2 months or within 3 months a drug will be coming out. It's risky. Okay, if it is coming out as a drug, is fine. But risk factor is there. That is why we have to wait. Even after giving the vaccine, you have to wait for 28 days to check whether any adverse effect is produced due to this immunity created and so on. That's another story. Now, in spite of the considerable progress achieved in SBDD using the virtual ligand screening and computer-aided drug design, the practical prediction of binding affinities of ligands remains still a big challenge. Although measurements of binding affinity using the titration colorimetry and surface plasma resonance, just tells you binding affinity, can be done with high accuracy. Due to the lack of knowledge of the entropic contribution, which is a measure of overall system disorder, the binding affinity cannot be inferred reliably even now. Okay. In the X-ray crystallographic target macromolecular structure, there will be conserved water molecules, and in many cases, ligand binding is mediated often by such waters. I have shown some example in PLA to how water mediated hydrogen bonds are there. Attempts to replace them or displace them with experimental ligands may not only be difficult to achieve, but also have unpredictable, unfavorable effects. In the protein data bank, X-ray sectors of receptor ligand complexes for many important families of drug targets like proteases, lipases, nuclear receptors, protein kinases, HIV reverse transcriptase, some G protein coupled receptors, and RNA are available for SBDD application. So this tells about what you have to do finally for validation. One goes to do molecular dynamics simulation. Now, when a ligand binds at the receptor site of the protein, local rearrangements of side chain of the amino acids surrounding the binding packet and sometimes large domain motions are induced, and these are called protein conformational changes. That is why the concept of keeping the receptor site rigid is wrong. But it is easy to filter out from tens of thousands of compounds to hundreds, no, by having this compound, this concept. Okay. So initially you do it, then later on you change it to flexible nature. So this is called soft docking, where a small degree of overlap is allowed between the ligand and the protein by adjusting the van der Waals interaction in docking calculation. Computational efficiency of the method is good and easier for implementation. Only limitation is the simplest method. This can account only for small conformational changes. The second method, side chain flexibility is focused, the backbones are kept rigid. The various side chain conformational sample, they create a rotamer library, most sophisticated package. Third method is called molecular relaxation, where rigid body docking is used to place the ligand into the binding site, and then the protein backbone and nearby side chain atoms are relaxed. Efficient scoring function is needed as relaxation is given to both backbone and side chain atoms with flexibility. Fourth approach is the most widely used method, and an ensemble of protein structures to represent the different possible conformational changes is used. These are four methods. So we talk about AutoDock and PluxE, which are the free domain programs, and these use the ensemble of protein structures method. Y et al. Use the algorithm where a protein was decomposed into rigid parts and several flexible parts according to the crystal structures of the protein in the ensemble. The selected local conformers were joined with the rigid part in forming the best fit conformation. This algorithm is used in flux E. Then there's another algorithm developed by Huang and Zhu. The protein conformation here is in the ensemble is treated as the additional dimension to the standard 6 degrees of freedom, 3 for rotation, 3 for the activation of ligand energy, 3 for translation, 3 for rotation. This algorithm was further expanded by Abagyan to 4-dimensional docking. To account for flexibility, they combined experimental structures from NMR and so on. Now, coming to sampling of ligand, the protein ligand docking, the most successful area developed is ligand sampling involving shape matching. So this is important. This is also known as shape complementarity. Suppose you look at the protein structure, the path where a drug can go, as you see, it's like a curve, in the case of PLA, Suppose there, if a molecule is spherical, it will just close the opening itself. You cannot go inside where it can have the binding, Okay, now we have a linear thing which has a binding, curve nature. And there are some targets, as yesterday I showed you, there are some targets where we have a narrow pathway, like a tunnel, In those cases also we cannot use the spherical shape molecule because it will close the mouth of the tunnel. It won't go inside and have interaction. Now, there are some cases where the surface is of spherical nature. So there you cannot put that linear type of molecule, but a spherical molecule. This is known as shape complementarity, which can be known only if the three-dimensional structure of the macromolecule and small molecule are known. Okay, so we got docking program like DOCK, FRED, FLOG, UDOCK, so many things, right? Which may use the shape matching concept. So now this systematic search is there. All possible binding conformation are generated by by exposing all degrees of freedom of a ligand. We have the commercial program GLIDE and FRED. That uses this type of concept. We have the DOCK, LUDI from Schrodinger, and this again a free program. They are examples of the docking program which use the fragmentation method. Okay, now we talk about the binding energy in each pose, So all these programs do that calculation, any docking program, and you choose the best one as the one which is having the least energy, that is more negative numbers. Now, at least I already told you affinity. So what is affinity of a molecule, small molecule with the active site? So that should also be looked into largest negative number. Okay. Now, sometimes if you are a crystallographer, some people say, for example, the commercial package Schrodinger, they say the best ligand is the one which has the least score. They don't bother about the energy. But as a crystallographer, I bother about the energy, because in most of the cases, we don't find the same compound possessing the best energy and the best score. That is the lowest score and lowest energy will not occur simultaneously. When in rare cases, we get that both of them matching for the same compound. In some compounds, score will be the least. In some compounds, energy will be the least. We have to make a compromise. So there is no meaning. No. What is that? Instead of taking 2 molecules, you take 4 or 5 molecules. Anyhow, if you want to do animalization, you can do. We are not going to sacrifice 100 animals. So instead of 2 animals, you are going to take 4 animals. So whenever you use the structure by design, because since each program works on different force field and other things, don't construct a single program to confirm your result. You play with various programs and check whether the same molecule is identified. So that is the advice I am giving you. Now, there are some publicly available docking benchmarks like DUDE and CSER. So these are all available in the sites only. PDB is there, which contains macromolecular targets, about 1,60,000. Cambridge Structural Database is there, containing more than 10 lakh molecular structures, small molecules. We have millions of structures available with the Zinc database, Acid database, and drug bank means actual drug molecules are available. Then we have Chinese database and natural products containing ligands. Now we talk about another concept known as fragment-based drug design. I will explain it in a graph. So suppose you are the shape of the site, where you want to dock it like this, So we have many compounds of this. So each is one different shape, right? You screen it. First put one compound, okay, best one. Then you put another fit. So they have to be stable, Put some linker, linker design. So this is called fragment linking, So they have to comfortably fit in the site. Then Active site prediction, how to do it. Again, there are programs out there. What do you mean by that? So suppose you have drug molecule, it has to enter, no, it has to have a path. So like PLA2, you see the head of a channel. So here there's a path. Once drug molecule enters there, then it has to close. Then it has the action. Then it has to open. After things are over, drug has to come out. No. This is what opening and closing confirmations are active and inactive confirmation. One example I have taken from kinase, no? How what you active and inactive confirmation. When you do molecular dynamic simulation, you can just visualize, no? This you can even make the movie out, no? How to do this active and inactive confirmation. Then in some of the popular active site prediction tools, which you are going to see in the next projection, they have comparable predictive performance, and there are 4 algorithms followed: geometric based, energy based, docking based, and any combination of these. So these are some of the popular web server to predict the active site or ligand binding site based on the 3-dimensional structure. Everything is free. You have to spend some time, right? You have to spend some time, go to Google and give this thing prediction of active site or ligand binding site. It'll give you all the site. Suppose you have a protein, feed the protein, and it'll give you what is the site. So there you have to dock the ligand, and you'll use a free docking program, AutoDock or AutoVena, no? So now this is homology modeling. So suppose you don't have the structure, because I told you millions of sequences are available for which structures are not available, because structure process is a very slow process, but sequencing is very fast. So in those cases, you have a sequence and do the modeling. There's a program called Modeler or Threader. The only problem is modeling Helices sheet is okay, but loops are very flexible, very difficult. So once you do this modeling, then you have to validate your model by doing Ramachandran plot. Not only that, we have to do the simulation. Because modeling you are not including waters, no. So you have to input water molecule or the lipid medium, do the simulation by 15 nanoseconds. Then only you got to report your docking results. Then how to visualize the protein ligand interaction? There are some graphical tools, no, because we have to distinguish a protein and a ligand and a water molecule, pipe interaction, metal ion, hydrogen bonds, no, which are shown here. So like that, graphics things are available. Again, free only. Most of the protein ligand interaction graphic things are very free. For analyzing protein ligand interaction data is here. For visualizing protein ligand interaction, we have thing. Usually people use the common thing, PyMol, no? Or Master you can use. Chimera is also commonly used. Then we talk about databases available for protein ligand interaction data. Again, free database. URL is given here. Everything is Google. You just go type it, you will get it. So finally, we do have another technique in bioinformatics, known as QSAR, quantitative structure activity relationship. By knowing the molecular properties like molecular weight, charge, so many things, molecular properties and also the activity, like a least squares, a graph is plotted and an equation is provided. Left hand side is the activity, which is related in the right hand side in terms of some coefficients. Each coefficient corresponding to some property, like that. So it's an equation, standard equation for some family of molecule industry. Suppose you want to come out with the activity of a new molecule design, you know the property, you calculate the right hand side, then from there you can calculate the left hand side. So there is activity need not be experimentally carried out, they predict the activity. So XAXR role you have seen. Now we go to the applications. So mainly I'll just deal with 2 applications. One is the present COVID problem. Yes, today's newspaper reports that all of us know the WHO declares coronavirus in order to distinguish from the first coronavirus called SARS-CoV as pandemic. This outbreak started in China in December 2019 in Wuhan. Lakhs of people the globe. 163 lakhs. This is today's newspaper. So far, no approved drugs are available to treat COVID-19. Several investigations have been carried out to identify the product. The original drug was meant for some other disease. Advantage of drug repurposing is that already it is injected or people are taking as a molecule, no toxicity, nothing is there. So those hurdles are already solved. Then we have potential novel compound ligand libraries, natural products, those things are being attempted. But so far, they have not come to a common output, no, whatever is there, common goal. So this coronavirus belongs to a large family of viruses. The infection results in respiratory illness caused ranging from common cold to severe acute respiratory syndrome SARS and Middle East respiratory syndrome MERS. The transmission of COVID is mainly from human to human upon close contact and also through respiratory droplets of infected people upon coughing and or sneezing. It is also observed that SARS-CoV-2 spreads rapidly than the SARS coronavirus 1 or SARS-CoV, which caused an earlier SARS outbreak in 2003, because their death rate is very small, lesser than 9,000 the global level. Here, even in March 29th itself, we have more than 8 lakh infection and 30,000 deaths. No, starting itself it was heavy. Now, people say that in India, we have the fatality rate coming down to 2.25%, one of the lowest in the world, and survival rate is more than 60%. And the country's corona positivity, the last week, it has come down from 13% to 9%. It is a good signal indicator. So now currently we have so many vaccines suggest that, but we don't know really what, nobody is telling the truth with the private hospital, what are the medicine or injection they are giving. Main thing is immune responsibility has to be increased to overcome the COVID. That's what people are telling. So this is again coronavirus, don't bother too much about it. Now let us go to the target. What are the targets to be attempted if you want to propose a drug for corona? Now, one transcription. The SARS coronavirus 2 encodes two of the proteases. One is known as PL-PRO, papain-like protease, and are your main protease called M-PRO. These proteases cleave the polyproteins into non-structural proteins 1 to 16. Okay. Now we can either mostly use people M-PRO as the target, or this NSP 13 or 16 has been used as a target, because the NSP 16 has about 93% homology with SARS-CoV-2. Now, so this is one target. Then this M-PRO is a homodimer with the 3 sexual domains, 1, 2, and 3. We can show the picture. And we have this SARS-CoV and MERS-CoV having about 40% sequence similarity. M-PRO is an active drug target because of the main role in self-maturation and subsequent maturation of polyproteins. Previously, for SARS and MERS, HIV protease inhibitors such as lopinavir and ritonavir and nelfinavir were reported to successfully inhibit M-PRO. So this is called drug repurposing. It's meant for your HIV, but it is used for COVID. So this is a structure is available. So look at domain 1, 2, and 3. So this is where the inhibitor is binding. So if you want to design inhibitor, check whether it binds in this region. We know what are the active sites. The second one is the helicase region, right? I'll just show you. They know what is the structure has been solved. So they don't know what should be the interacting residues. We want to design drug molecule. So this is a prism-like structure. This thing, PDB ID is given. Structures are known. You can do such a drug design. Then the third is RNA-dependent RNA polymerase, RD, RP. So here also we know the active site residues. These aspartic 680, aspartic 760, and 761. Among them, aspartic 760 is strictly conserved in all RD-RPs and it's coordinated with the metal ions during catalysis. So now we can use it as a target. Okay. Now this is the 3 targets. Many people in the globe are working together. Coming to again the spike structural protein, we talk about spike glycoprotein. So which is also called S-glycoprotein of COVID. And this is a structural protein which mediates the membrane fusion required for the virus entry into the cell. Of course, you know what is the reason this coronavirus is given the name, because it is like a crown, no? And we'll show you the picture also in that. Now, this protein, spike glycoprotein, is made up of 2 domains. The N-terminal domain consisting of about 700 amino acids called S1, and the C-terminal domain called S2 consisting of about 600 amino acids. Totally 1,300 amino acids are there. You want to see how many atoms are there? You just roughly multiply these 1,300 by 8. Okay. Now, what is the role of the S1, S2? During the virus entry, the S1 subunit binds to the receptor of the host cell surface, and the S2 subunit undergoes a major conformational change, exposing the hydrophobic fusion peptide for the fusion of viral and cellular membrane. So, if you want to avoid the fusion of other things, you design inhibitors, right? So that's what we are doing. So this is the spike protein. You can just see SARS-CoV-2. These are the spikes, right? So these go into that angiotensin converting at the ACE2 binding domain. And if you want to avoid that, you just have some inhibitor design. No, so this is right hand side is the trimer. So this is ACE2 receptors. We know the active site GLE479, which has to be taken. Okay. Now, uh, as today there is no FDA approved drug available to treat whatever drug they are using, a drug repurposing. It has some side effects also. And we have published recently a paper in Journal of Biomolecular Structure and Dynamics with the collaboration from Michael Gromiga from Biotechnology, IIT Madras. And we use the MPRO as a target. Because I just saw news from Thailand that even January itself, I'm telling, they gave a combination of three drugs which are used for, two drugs which are used for HIV and one used for this influenza virus, oseltamivir and lopinavir and ritonavir. And they found that an elderly person recovered from the corona positive within 2 days, which prompted us to check what will happen if you dock these molecules with that MPO. So in between, I'm telling many people from Shanghai Institute, they come out with these drug molecules, no, which have been already known to inhibit something, other drug molecules. Then we have that Ebola virus, no, molecule you are affecting COVID or interacting with the COVID. So many things are there. So I'll just tell about then Jin et al. Has said over 10,000 compounds, which include FDA approved also against this MPRO, and identified one compound, Getselene, a synthetic organoselenium drug molecule, highly effective to be. This is the outcome of SBDD only. Then they used fragment-based drug design also. Then you must know what you mean pharmacophore modeling. Pharmacophore modeling means, suppose you know the best ligand, no? You look at some special features. So it's a pharmacophore means is an abstract concept which deals with about molecular properties, which will be recognized by your protein. What are properties? Small molecule properties, hydrogen bond donor should be there, acceptor should be there, in aromatic ring is there, anion, cation, this region. These are all the features, no? So once you have this fixed, no, then look for ligand, other ligand, which have similar features, no? So this is used in ligand-based drug design, this concept. Shape-based, already we have seen shape-based screening, no? Drug repurposing also, I have told you. For example, look at the favipiravir, no? So this is an approved influenza virus drug. And sofosbuvir is a hepatitis C virus drug. They have been reported to have strong repurposing potential against Ebola and Zika viruses, no? So these are drug repurposing. And now I will just show you some other compounds from natural product. For example, you say Terminalia cebula, in our language you call it as kaduka, you know. They have cebulagic acid and fluticalagin, which has been reported as broad antiviral agent against dengue virus. And these compounds also interfere with COVID-19. And there is a triterpene glycoside from this plant, Scrophularia, Scoradonia against coronavirus. Then we have beristain, scrollatine, and phenolic compound from Isatis indigo urtica and Torreya nucleifera have been reported COVID-19. So natural products also have a role in that. So we cannot completely rule out natural product. Then one of our collaborator, Anushya, has used these compounds, just 20, all the kitchen items, no? Turmeric, black pepper, cumin, fennel, fenugreek, right? Cardamom, cinnamon, clove. And she has looked at the literature and saw what are the phytoconstituents in there. Totally 138 compounds were there. Then everything she did the docking and she has come out the best 11 compounds, no? And she did it with two targets. One is the spike protein. So these are spike protein inhibitors, and the other one is the SARS-CoV MPRO inhibitors, right? So energy is given here. Look at this 10-10 selected compounds. 9 compounds are common in both the targets. So this is a good result telling you that even our daily used herbs in our cooking will be used to control COVID. These are the top 4 natural compounds which are useful as antiviral in SARS-CoV. These are nothing but hesperidine, diogenin, epigallocatechin gallate. Epigallocatechin gallate is available in green tea. Then fenugreek. Okay. Now, I will tell you what is synergism. Already we have seen. Synergism means can two small molecules bind simultaneously, because if you have more sites, no. What is the role of second molecule, second acting occupying one more site compared to first molecule occupying one site? So that we want to analyze. So this is based on the clinical result from Thailand group, lopinavir and ritonavir from HIV, and this is from influenza. They have a combination of these, and they say the patient recovered within 48 hours. We wanted to see. Then we also did COVID. After doing the structure docking, we did the molecular simulation for 100 seconds. We communicated the paper. If you do the docking, just show you the results. So these are the docking results. First, lopinavir we dock, then oseltamivir we dock, then ritonavir we dock. Okay. What is sequential docking? First, you dock lopinavir with the protein. Now, protein and the lopinavir together I consider as one drug molecule, one target. Then I dock oseltamivir. This is interaction. This is oseltamivir alone. Then oseltamivir, lopinavir, and the protein. This is then you consider these two molecules dock with the protein as a single target. Then dock this way. One at a time only you can dock in the softwares. No, that's why we are making this trick. This is your ritonavir docking result alone, and this is with all the things: ritonavir, oseltamivir, lopinavir. So once you see the picture, you'll be clear. So now we have three sides. No, if oseltamivir is there, this is occupying top left-hand side to us. No, then if you see your lopinavir, this is right-hand side bottom. Right? This is right-hand side top. No? Look at the energy, minus 4.1, minus 4.65, minus 5.1. Now, based on the individual docking, you say that ritonavir is the better one because the lowest one among the three. Okay. Now, let us see how this changes, minus 5.11. No? So first, you again, same thing you dock, lopinavir dock. Then, this whole thing as a target we use. Then we use the oseltamivir docking. Now, it is minus 5.4. Previously, based on minus 5.1. No? Now, the whole thing assumed as a target. Then we dock your third one, right? Lopinavir, right? So now when you see the energy has gone to minus 8.3. No, this is called synergism, right? So this is common in natural product. Then we did the three plots. Whenever we do molecular dynamics, you have to do RMS root mean square deviation during the simulation. It has to be there should have been any fluctuation. Then only say okay, it reaches the convergence. Then usually free protein will be having more deviation than the complex. Because complex is bound, no? That we have to see, black one. Then we talk about root mean square deviation. So here, wherever the amino acids are bound with the ligand molecule, no, then that region deviation will be minimum. So these three plots I have shown, lopinavir, black and red is oseltamivir. Most of them convergence has reached. RMS is minimum with red, that is with oseltamivir. Then there is one more plot called radius of gyration, which denotes the shape of the molecule. Then hydrogen bond, whether some hydrogen bonds have been broken or they have come down, and so many graphs are there, you have to deal with that. Okay, that's fine. Then Lata and Mansi from Delhi has studied again some in silico study on phytochemicals, and she used 30 phytochemicals under 8 repurposed drugs and published a paper. Finally, they conclude that there is one molecule, silibin from silimarin, and vitaferin A from ashwagandha, Vitalia somnifera, which have good results. So these structures are shown here. This is your normal protease structure. So this is your spike protein. This is your RD, RP, RNA dependent RNA polymerase structure. But look here both silimarin and vitaferin bind at the same as far as Mpro is concerned. Similar is true for the spike also, they bind at the same time. Whereas for RD, RP, silimarin, that green, no, it binds at one place and yellow binds at some other place. So they have gone to the calculation of this hydrogen bonds and everything they have reported. Then, now this is my story. This is interesting. Now, for past 10 years, I've been working on natural products. I have a belief that they have their own role. Before this allopathy came, everybody has been depending only on the natural products. So it's about 3,000 years old. I met a herbalist from Northeast through my friend now who has become collaborator, Dr. Atanu Bhattacharya from Biotechnology Department, Northeast Hill University, Shillong. See, there's a baby. This baby is 6 months old, right? It was crying, 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 because the entire cheek, gone. So mother cannot be able to, only one side the baby can turn. See how she is crying. So then it came, she spent more than lakh, poor lady, doctors were unable to do surgery. They were reluctant because it goes to the throat also, no? They were very reluctant, nothing is there. Then she approached the herbalist there, one Dr. Cargom Packington. So he used two plants. I will show you later. Then every time he used to do the bandage, once in 20 days. So see the thing is peeling off, peeling off. After about 1 year, the baby is good. Right? No surgery, nothing, no. So only this air portion is out. Then people asked me, I asked him to come to Chennai and Coimbatore. He gave lectures, the medical guy, everything. Our people are funny, no? Well, they do their job, they are now they appreciate somebody's job, no? They ask, first question, your medical university famous, is the baby alive? By that time I never saw the baby, no. So next time when I went there, the baby is there. Now she is 6 years old, no? This is been taken 3 years back, right? She's alive. You can see that this air portion is out, no? So this is our doctor. We are still collaborating on some other things. So this is the ginger flower, no? You don't pluck ginger. A beautiful flower weighing about 250 grams are there. Just use it. White liquid is coming. See, he just applies that as a tincture, no, on the wound. Then something oozes out. He doesn't even use any gloves or something. No, he does it. Then this is a rhizome called Stephania hernidifolia. The local name from that is called Jaban. So he uses, he cuts it. If it is black, he says 92% anti-cancer. If it is yellow, okay, 70 to 80%. If it is white, they throw away. So I also went along with them to collect these rhizomes. So this is myself. So this is ginger flower. He started a clinic also, and I opened the clinic. A very nice store. He charges 20 rupees also. So I was very much interested. How can a baby be saved? Where people are not willing to surgery or something. So some 1,000 rupees maximum the lady has spent. Then I did this soaking of this powder, dried, shade dried rhizome. And when we did the GCMS, after soaking in methanol, we found so many peaks. Each corresponds to some compound, which can be compared with the NIST database library containing 1.75 lakhs of compound. That is one strong peak we got. So look at the compounds shown by the NIST database comparison at different retention times. I saw one compound. Most of the compounds are anti-inflammatory. As you know, inflammation related to cancer, prolonged inflammation causes cancer. This compound, diethylstilbestrol 14. So even now, this is the best anti-breast cancer compound in Western countries. Only problem is, if a lady is pregnant, she cannot use it if she has a cancer because it produces vaginal cancer. Otherwise, it is a very good anti-breast cancer compound. But this is present only in about 1% peak area, right? But look at this compound. It is this compound called DL tetrahydropalmitine. It is present about 58%. No, I have never seen. I have so far worked on 100 plants. I have never seen a single compound occurring with 58%. No, they are very much curious to see what is this compound. No, then we did the LCMS, liquid chromatography mass separation mass spectrometry twice, and we got it and we did the crystals. And my wife was doing PhD. She did the crystal structure also, which went to the thesis. No, I will show you those things. Now, for every of these one of these compound, we use this target ABL tyrosine kinase as the anti-cancer target, for which already a co-crystal is there, both it in. So what we did, you remove the ligand from the co-crystal, and whatever compounds we get, two-dimensional structure, you get the three-dimensional structures, energy minimize them, then dock it to the same place and see whether hydrogen bonds are there, whether they mimic the same hydrogen bond. This is what we did. I will show you the listing also later. So this is the molecule we got, right? It's a beautiful molecule. It is known as RTEP diagram, showing the ellipsoidal nature of this molecule, showing the thermovibration anisotropy. And look here, there are 4 OCH groups. Methoxy groups are there. 1, 2, 3, 4. I will tell you. Just remember, there are 4 OCH groups. So this is a molecule, right? It is having interaction, hydrogen bond interaction. Values are shown. donor acceptor distances 2.3 to 3.1. It has an interaction with methionine 318, which the co-crystal also had. This is known as Lick plot, where the hydrophobic interactions are shown like an eyebrow symbol. No? So this plot is there. Now we look at this docking result. A docking result will be of this type. No. Now first left hand side is always donor, right hand side is an acceptor. Always notation is left hand side donor, right hand side acceptor. Donor is also bonded to hydrogen. That's why you're putting hyphen. If the donor is coming from an amino acid, you write the amino acid name. If this acceptor atom is coming from amino acid, you write the name of the amino acid. That's all. Then the missing thing is coming from ligand. So that is understanding. 2.2 to 3.2. The bosutinib co-crystal, which is an anti-cancer compound, has this docking score and Glide energy. Showed you I used. Now, if you compare the results of whatever compound I have from this herb, no, so some of the scores are better than this, no, minus 9.2 is better. But energy-wise, this is better, no. So what I found is among them, I just found which is the least energy, minus 46.99. I took it because it has many interactions, and one of the interactions, methionine 318, is resembling with the co-crystal, justifying the anti-cancer nature of this compound. That's what I'm telling. You do the co-crystal, which is only known to have that property, anti-cancer or anti-diabetic or whatever is there. Check whether same residues are involved in your new compound. Then 50% you are sure. No. So this is the thing we did. Then we have another literature survey. Phanchinoline is a natural compound from Chinese database, and breast cancer target is BCL2. They did the docking. They found that it has interaction with arginine 143. And if you look at the BCL2, already it is co-crystallized with the ligand, right? It also has interaction with arginine 143 from the target. Two bonds are there. Look at my molecule, DL tetrahydropalmitin, same arginine 143, 3.0, 3.1, mimicking this and also confirming with the actual drug. So I'm sure that it is an anti-cancer molecule. No. So this is the rhizome. This is the dried flakes of rhizome, the methanol extract. No. Then I did the activity also. No. Cell lines. See here, the pure compound. No. The natural compound, the original compound has IC50 value of 17 with respect to colorectal cancer and 10.5 microgram per ml with respect to breast cancer and 27 microgram per ml as a lung cancer. It's good. But during the LC-MSM experiment, I found that naturally one methoxy OCH is converted into one OH. Then two OH3s are converted to 2 OH. You know, then we thought, what will happen if we convert all the 4 into 4 OH? But in silico I did it with the same target. Then I found that 4 OH is better than, in terms of energy and score, better than this and the native. Then I subjected these two also for cell line testing. I found that in colorectal cancer, IC50 has come down to 7.7 microgram per ml. No? It is 3 times better than your original one. No? Whereas for the lung cancer and the breast cancer, it is worse. So the conclusion is the native compound, whatever isolated, can be used for the breast cancer, and that 4H derivatized compound can be used for your colorectal cancer. So I have to acknowledge my collaborators, Michael Gomiya from IIT Madras, and Anushya from Vinayamachi Salem, and Muralidharan Mishra, Michael Kudu from IIT Madras, Dr. Pashepan from SRM Ministry of Science and Technology, Katangalu, Chennai, and also the herbalists. I have 3 herbalists in collaboration, one from Palani Rangasamy, then from 2 from Meghalaya, Dr. Martha Boss and Pakentine. Then, of course, the contributors to COVID-19 research are gratefully acknowledged. Thank you for your patience. Thank you. So this is the end of the story. If you want to learn more, I asked Mohana to distribute you the site details. You kindly go to, before you forget the things, practice from tomorrow, you go to EPG Pathsala, go to the biocrystallography MSc syllabus, 32 modules are there, whatever I taught you relevant to this, you go through, and go to Google, some sites are there, free softwares are there, you just play the game. Only thing is you have to spare some time for science. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, you can also contact me. My phone number and land phone number is better. You can, Mohana can give my mail ID and land number. If you have any doubts, you can just mail me or call me. I am happy to answer these. Thanks, Mohana. Thanks to the organizers for giving a nice opportunity for me to share our work to the faculty and the students. No, thank you all.
Thank you. Participants, if you have any questions, dear participants, if you have any questions, please ask to sir. He is willing to answer.
Hello.
Okay. So,
Sir, thank you for the wonderful presentation, sir.
Thank you,
All
ma'am.
the
Thank you,
participants
ma'am.
are very eager. We are very proud to have you in this platform, sir.
That is okay. What is there? We have to transfer knowledge, no? Because they may
Yeah,
become
sir.
superior than me, no, in the long run. Because we should not hide,
Yeah,
no.
sir.
Whatever we
Yeah,
learned in
sir.
the
Sure,
60
sir. Sure,
years,
sir. With your
that is the duty
blessing.
of the teacher, no. We have to transfer.
With your blessing, sir.
Sure,
All of them
sir.
may achieve the. Now, Mohana
Yeah.
Sundari.
Ma'am,
Mohana.
I'm ready.
Mohana.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Mohana, can you get me?
Yes, ma'am.
Please tell the vote of thanks to sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So I
Proceed.
just take a few seconds, few moments for vote of thanks. Today is the end of the session for last 5 days. So I like to thank everyone. It is my privilege to propose the word of thanks in this occasion on the behalf of Geology Department, Arulmigu Palandiya and Arts College for Women. First of all, I thank to Almighty God Lord Muruga for making this short-term course success. Thank you, Muruga. We thank our respected principal, Dr. N. Bhuvaneshwari ma'am, to give permission to conduct this webinar. I extended my sincere thanks to our HOD, Dr. S. Muthulakshmi ma'am, for her support and encouragement. A big thanks to Professor Dr. Vivek Murugan to accept immediately to our request. That's our fortune. He is one of the eminent scientists and most productive structural biologists in the world. He explained bits of crystallography, how establishing the structures of crystalline solids. So, in structure-based drug design, protein, and other biological material, how we can crystallize structures, compositions, cytos for drug discovery research using and chemical field of research in experimentally and computationally. This is the we Dr. Guhan, Assistant Professor, Center of Advanced Study Crystallography and Biophysics, um, University of Madras, Kindy campus. And he explained the basics of bioinformatics. That was very good introduction to understand about the homology modeling and some the databases, how we can use the databases like that. And we thank Dr. Gohan. And I extend my sincere thanks to our coordinators, Dr. Mameshwari ma'am and Mrs. Bavatarni, to give to support and conduct this seminar. And thank you for all participants. You are really actively participating to make their course. Thank you. Thank you, Ona. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mohana Sundari. Thank you for your sweet and short vote of thanks. Sir, thank you very much, sir,
Thank you, madam. It's a pleasure.
for a visit. Yeah, sir. Yeah, sir. We will one day invite you to our college also to have a small talk, sir.
No problem. Palade Andava is my main deity.
Sir, sure, sir. You are a devotee, I am understanding. So Lord
No
Buddha
problem.
has given a way to see you.
No problem.
Sir, surely we are welcoming you to our college, sir.
Thank you,
Be
ma'am. Thank you.
pleasure, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very
so
much.
much.
All the participants, thank you very much for your kind cooperation. Thank you,